So what happens when a blended family isn't blending? So about me, my name is Ashley. I am a stay-at-home mom. I have a blended family. We have a family of 6. I have been with my partner or significant other for about 9 years now. We got together when his oldest was 5 and his youngest was 1. So I was a mom before I became a mom. But now, these days, fast forward, we have 4 children. 2 of them we share together, and 2 of his are his oldest from the previous marriage. And me and him are just not working out.
Hello everyone, this is Emmanuel Cook. We will be reacting to a new video today, so make sure you guys like, comment, and subscribe down below, and let's get into the video.
Okay, this is a message for people that have stepchildren, blended families, whatever you want to call it. If you marry a man and he has children from his previous relationship, and then you go on and have a child with this man, you need to remember that his biological children from the previous marriage relationship are just as important to him as the child you had with him. Let me reword this. Your stepchildren are his biological children, and you should never, ever, ever disinclude those children from family pictures, from a vacation, or any type of event, okay? They should be in the forefront of your family just as much as that your biological child is, because no matter what, they are his children. And the fact that some women treat stepchildren different than they treat the biological child they created with this man is so freaking toxic and unnerving to me. And I can speak on behalf of this because I came from a family that was divorced. My mom and dad divorced when I was 3. And the one time my dad remarried, the woman tried to get my dad to bring her kids to Disney World without us. And my dad put his foot down so effing fast. He was like, you will never disinclude my children. Ever, ever, ever. And the fact that some of you men allow your new wife to control you so much to where you are losing a relationship with your children, grow a fucking pair and stop. There are women out there that have like some sick jealousy over their stepchildren, especially like their stepdaughter, as if like they're in some type of competition with the stepdaughter having a relationship with her own father. That is his child. Grow up. Grow up. You need to love those stepchildren just as much as you love your biological children. And if you don't want to feel like you love them enough, you need to include them just as much as your biological child is, because it is still your husband's children.
When you're in a relationship with someone who has kids from a previous partner, it's not just about the 2 of you. It's about them kids too. A lot of times, both men and women struggle with the idea of their partner having a relationship with the kid's other parent. That co-parenting relationship is about the children and not the past between the parents. What we often don't realize is how much of an impact this has on the kids. Whether the co-parenting is good or bad, it affects them deeply. When the parents can't communicate or there's drama, it creates tension that the kids feel. It can lead to confusion, emotional instability, or even resentment. We need to understand that stepping into a relationship where children are involved requires maturity from both sides. As adults, we have to be able to put aside our own feelings and focus on creating a stable and peaceful environment for the kids. Co-parenting requires communication, patience, and trust from both sides. Those in step-parent mode, building a relationship with the kids take time. You have to show that you care and let that trust grow naturally. It's not about competing with the other parent. It's about being an extra source of support. At the end of the day, how we co-parent has a lasting effect on the kids. They feel the tension or peace between the adults, and it shapes how they grow up. So it's on us to drop the egos, communicate, and make sure we're all working together for the kids' well-being. When both men and women do that, the kids win. Thought for Thursday.
Something that's not talked about enough when it comes to blended families or being a bonus parent. Shit, just being a parent at all. It is your job to create the relationship and the bond with those kids. It's not their job. You also have to understand that their life is changing on a consistent basis all the time. My 2 bonus babies go back and forth every other week for an entire week. And our lives over here are so different than their lives are over there. So naturally, there's going to be a lot of attitude and a lot of different things going on emotionally. And as a bonus parent or bonus mom, specifically speaking for me, you don't have as much lenience or I don't know what the word is for when it comes to your bonus kids, whereas you do with your biological kids. But you've got to figure out how to. I understand if you're a bonus mom, you're going to say, I love those babies as much as I love my own. Yes, I do too. But you cannot tell me biologically that you are not a little bit more lenient with your biological children than you are with those bonus babies. This is something I've had to change about myself over the past 3 years because it has been hard. Along with the trauma that I've experienced in my own life, where it's making it hard for me to love people in general, I had to become aware of the fact that I was a little bit more lenient with my biological kids than I was with my bonus babies. When I became aware of that, it helped me to create a stronger bond with them. I'll talk more about blended family stuff, but ultimately that's like the biggest learning lesson that I've had in the past 3 years. What about you?
I just did a video about natural consequences in parenting, but what do natural consequences look like in a blended family household? So what that looks like can be recognizing that the partner had their child before, they chose to have a baby with that person, whether they're high conflict or not, but they chose to enter into that situation, and then there's a divorce. And so that mess and the fallout from that belongs to that parent. It doesn't belong to stepmom or stepdad. That's not where it goes. We can love our partners, but we don't need to be taking over their job for them. That leads to resentment, burnout. It leads to marriage failure. So you can kind of look at it like this. So I will sit with you and I'll hold the dustpan while you clean up the mess, but I'm not sweeping and doing the dustpan, and I'm not cleaning up the whole mess by myself. I will be there to support you as you clean this up and as you handle this situation, but the cleanup is not my job. A lot of times stepmoms will jump in and try to kind of control. They'll start taking over the communication. They'll making sure the child support gets paid. They're doing all of those things, and they're enabling their other parent to not be a fully present parent. And a lot of times when we have control stuff that comes up, it's out of fear. So if you're stepping forward and you're trying to do things that really aren't your job, if you've got the broom and the dustpan and the mess, and you're trying to kind of control because you think your partner's not going to do it right, or you can do it better, or whatever, there's a fear under that. And we need to look at what that underlying fear is. Is the fear that maybe our partner isn't the parent that we thought they were? Is the fear, what's the fear? Ask yourself, if you're trying to control and overdo, what is your fear? What is your resistance to being boundaried and making sure that the person that you married is handling their own stuff and not making it your job? Where is that resistance?
Guys, I actually agree with her a lot. If you are in a blended family, then you have to learn how to handle your own family and allow your spouse to handle their family as well. Yes, you guys are blended together, but there are various responsibilities when it comes to consequences in that specific family. And each person has a specific role that they must play, and they have to play it well for things to actually blend together. If they do not play those roles correctly, things can really get out of hand.
I'd like to share with you a great story from a client that is regarding a topic that I get regularly in my inbox under comments regarding blended families. And it's my hope that what I share with him is a help to you the way it was a blessing to him. 32 years old. His wife is 31. They have been married for 4 years. They have a 7 and an 8-year-old. He has a 7-year-old son. She has an 8-year-old daughter. And he says, Doc, I reached out because we have a really, I think, a really good relationship. But the only time we have major problems is when it comes to the kids. And I said, like, what are the problems? He said it pretty much gears around her allowing her daughter to do what she wants to do and kind of undermining my authority. And I said, what are the things you're trying, when you say authority, what are the things you're attempting to correct? I mean, are these reasonable things? He was like, yeah. I mean, he said she can be very attitudinal, the daughter, a little disrespectful, for sure. And he says his wife doesn't do much about it. She attempts to say something, but it's not much of a help. I asked him a simple question. I said, when you all were dating, what was the conversation about setting priorities in your house as it relates to your spouse and your children? He said, we didn't really talk about that. I said, you all didn't talk about the kids? He said, we talked about the kids. He said, but honestly, Doc, I think we were so excited to just be together. We figured we would make it work, and we didn't really sit down and plan. I said, so I appreciate that feedback, because that is a common error. People think that because they're in love, they've checked all the boxes. And love is just one box of many you have to check before you decide you're going to marry someone. I said to him, I said, the only way a blended family can work is if two things are in place. Now, before I give you the two things, but let me give you, the viewer, this caveat. This video is only for people who are married and have blended families. Because the fact of the matter is, if you're living with someone and both of you have kids, it's going to be hard for you to establish what I'm going to talk about because you really have no real foundation to establish it on. It doesn't shock me when children don't listen to boyfriends or don't listen to girlfriends. And some of you are going to understand that and others of you won't. But that doesn't shock me at all because in the boyfriend-girlfriend stage, you have no authority over someone else's kids. I'm going to be very clear with that. If you are somebody's boyfriend, you are somebody's girlfriend, you have no authority over their children. So I said to him, I said, there are really only two ways a blended family can work. Number one is the natural parents have to set the tone with their own kids. So while you all are dating, and if marriage is the plan, or even if marriage isn't the plan, take the other person out of the equation. When you have children as a single parent, if your intention is to be married, if your intention is not to be married, whatever, you should be spending time raising your children. Because the fact is, if you get married, it's going to be too late for you to attempt to raise your child after you're married. When you have another whole person in your house, adult, and you have more children in that house that are not your own. And where so many blended families mess up is single people who have children are not being great parents in terms of raising and disciplining and leading their children, and they bring in another person and it goes from bad to worse. So natural parents have to set the tone with their kids. And this is before you even think about getting married. Your children should know what respect looks like. Your children should know what listening to authority looks like. Your children should know what honoring you as a parent and another adult looks like. Because if that's the case, then bringing another adult in the house becomes a matter of them just learning to know one another and get along versus them having to go through that. Oh, and by the way, they're disrespectful and rude, right? Or you've set no tone with them. So that's number one. Number two is this. When you decide to marry someone, you need to marry someone that you are willing to prioritize above your kids. Some people are not going to like what I'm going to say. But again, if you've got a spiritual foundation as a base for your relationship, this is going to make perfect sense. God, your spouse, and your children, whether those children are natural or those children are stepchildren, your children are not the main priority over your spouse. Now, I know that's old fashioned. Some of you are going to hit me with that's old school. Some of you are going to hit me with, Doc, that's archaic. To each their own. But the fact of the matter is 90% of the chaos you see in blended families are because people get married and still treat their children like they're number one and their spouse like they're number two. And when I said that, he was like, Doc, you're spot on. He said, because I've said to her several times, you know, why do I feel like your kid and your daughter feels like your spouse? And she hit him with, well, that's my daughter. She was there before you and she's going to be there after you. That ain't a good answer, sis. It's not a good answer. And a lot of parents are guilty of saying the same thing. And here's the thing. I'm not going to argue with you. If that's your perspective, stay a single parent. Because if you're going to have real structure and order in your house, you need to think about who you're marrying and ask yourself, do I love them enough? Are they good enough? Are they respectful enough to my child? Are they great enough as a parent and great enough as a step parent for me to reprioritize them over my children? If the answer is no, you're choosing the wrong mate. It's that simple. Natural parents have to set the tone for their kids. And then kids have to be prioritized behind your spouse. And if that happens, things should be smooth sailing. I hope this makes sense. If it did, type church in the comments with 3 R's. And then remember, you've got 2 jobs. 1, be better today than what you were yesterday. And 2, don't forget what I told you.
I've seen 2 large blended families come together and it ends in a train wreck. It ends in a disaster. Most times it actually does not work out. There are just too many personalities involved, and most of the times they're just a little bit too different, and so it just doesn't work out. And at times there are just way too many boundaries being crossed within each side of the family, and it's just a bunch of drama, a bunch of chaos. It's hardly sunshines and rainbows, and you have to deal with each person accordingly, and at times it can become very difficult as well. A quick reminder, please remember to like, comment, and subscribe down below, and let's continue the video.
I cannot be the only one. If you are part of a blended family, if you are the mom, the dad, one of the leaders, one of the top upper echelon of a blended family, please let me give you a loving word of advice from the depths of my heart, and I speak from experience. Do not exclude anybody from your husband's family, from your wife's family, from any important date or occasion, Christmas, New Year's, birthdays, holidays, any of it. Please don't exclude them, because every time you exclude them, you break their heart. Just a little by little, until one day it's almost irreparably broken. If you are a part of a blended family, don't choose sides. You choose to marry into a family and they become yours. If not, don't do it.
I just saw this TikTok of this mom talking about how she and her ex are divorced and they have 2 kids, and how she gets really frustrated because every single night he FaceTimes the kids to say goodnight, but he doesn't respect their bedtime, and so the call goes over their bedtime, and then it throws off their schedule, and how she has to be the one to come in the room and say okay, the call is over. And she gave a little bit more context to say she mostly does the school week, and then her ex does the weekends, and I relate to this a lot. That's very similar to our schedule, but in reverse for my stepkids. But I felt so bad for her because all of the comments were so mean towards her, saying you're alienating them from their dad, and you need to let them have their relationship, and if he only does weekends, then he's only with him 8 days a month. And most of the comments were people who were well, I'm not in your situation, but it is so hard to be a member of a blended family, regardless if you're mom, if you're stepmom, bio dad, stepdad, whatever. It is hard to be a member of a blended family, and it's hardest most on the kids. So anyway, I think a lot of times when people bash someone in this situation, I don't think they're really thinking about the kids in it. And it does make it really challenging to feel you can share anything about being in this situation, regardless of what role you have.
I have to talk about this, and I don't think people talk about it enough. I am 27 years old, and if you come from a blended family, if you don't know what a blended family is, here is the definition of it. If you come from a blended family, first of all, I just need to know, are you guys okay? Are you guys okay? Because I'm not okay. Because there's nothing I hate more than meeting new people and having people ask me the dreaded question of, oh, so do you have any siblings, or are you only child? And I have to sit there being no, but my father was a whore, spread his seed, had children, thus children are related to me. Some are close, some are not. I do have a full sibling, even though they are all full people. And then another older brother, not related, but related. I get it.
These are 3 brutally honest lessons I've learned since becoming a blended family. For a little backstory, I was a single mom of 3. I met my now husband, who has a son from a previous marriage, and we now have a son together. So we have 5 children altogether, making us a blended family of 7. I honestly thought blending families was going to be all rainbows and sunshine. I did not expect to learn a lot of these hard truths. Number 1 being boundaries are necessary. In a blended family, everyone brings their own history, parenting style, and emotional baggage. Without clear boundaries between household, exes, kids, and even extended family, chaos creeps in fast. Boundaries are going to protect your peace, your marriage, and your kids. They don't make you mean, they make you healthy. Lesson 2, raising your kids with a new partner is hard. Even when you love your partner, parenting your kids together can feel like walking a tightrope. You have to balance your loyalty to your children with your unity to your partner. And your partner might not discipline or parent the way that you do. It's hard when your instincts scream protect and theirs scream structure.
It takes serious communication, humility, and grace for both of you. Lesson 3, jealousy is real, even when you don't want it to be. You can feel jealous of your partner's past, the relationship with their ex, the relationship with their child, the relationship with their child compared to the relationship with your children. It's uncomfortable, but it's normal. What matters is not letting jealousy lead. Acknowledge it, unpack it, and do not let it build walls. I'm curious, what are some hard lessons you've learned since blending families?
This is one of the reasons why I would never be in a relationship or marry a person who had kids in another relationship or another marriage. Only because it's just too much. If the person already has children, then it makes it a lot harder for you to just come into that family and just try to become a blended family. It just doesn't work, honestly. And guys, a lot of the times, even if the older adults get along, the children will hardly get along. The children will feel a huge disconnect just because that is not really their sibling. They will feel a certain way, and it makes things very difficult.
Alright, full transparency, this video sucks. I've tried to make it a couple times and I really just can't. I'm in a position right now where this short season of our life, my wife and I are trying to figure out how to co-parent effectively a blended family of 5 children with 2 completely different parenting styles. So the only thing that I knew that I could do was pick up and call my pastor, and then I picked up and I called her daddy, and we had a conversation, and our pastor had a conversation. And the first thing that we have to do, that any of you have to do if you're dealing with this, is you have to come to terms with the fact that we are in this together. It's not you fighting a battle by yourself. It's not me fighting the battle by myself. We're in this together. So we've got to fight this together the same way that we fought everything else together. Second thing that we need to do is we need to revert back to the same thing that we build the principles and foundation of our relationship on, which is the Bible. And we have to examine ourselves biblically, both individually and as a couple. Are we doing the things biblically sound that we are supposed to be doing? And oftentimes when you do that, you'll have an opportunity to look back and say, this is where I messed up. This is where I went wrong. See, when I say examine yourselves biblically, I don't mean examine your partner biblically. I don't mean examine how they've been responding or how they've been doing. I mean examine myself. I have to pick up my Bible and look at myself as the leader of my house. How am I handling it? Am I doing it the way that I've been instructed to do it? Okay? Because there are instructions for all of this. Now, the specifics and the details may differ in mine and your story, but the story is still the same. The basics of it are still the same. There are still basic principles and components that I have to incorporate into my parenting style that may be uncomfortable or unfamiliar to me. So that's the first thing that I've got to do. Second thing I got to do is take it to God in prayer. I have to pray for myself. I have to pray for my wife. I have to pray for our children. That there is no resentment build up just based off of change. Things change for everyone, for all of us. My life has changed. Her life has changed. Our children's lives have changed. To be inconsiderate of the change is unloving, uncaring, unbiblical, naive. It's delusional. It's self-delusion. It's self-deception. You create this own mindset that, oh, it's not really changing for them, it's only changing for me. Well, you're only deceiving yourself. So in order to avoid going down that path of self-betrayal and self-deception, I find myself leaning on men who have been in similar situations that I'm in right now, co-parenting, being the stepdad, if you will, the step-in dad, if you will, whatever you want to call me. I guess at the end of the day, at the end of all of this rant, what I'm really doing is I'm just asking that y'all pray for me while I sit here and I ponder and I try to figure out ways to co-parent peacefully with my spouse, and with all of the children's finding some common ground. I'm really just making it known that the struggle is real for everyone. The struggle is real for everyone. I need y'all's prayer just as much as I pray for y'all. You know, just as much as y'all ask for me to pray for y'all, I need it too. We're all in this together, and I'm really just laying it out there, you know, kind of venting, whatever, bearing my burdens with y'all, whatever the case may be. Letting it be known that just because I am a man of God and a man of faith doesn't mean I don't have struggles, because I do. And right now, this is the struggle that I have. Okay? So if you're struggling with this, just know that you're not alone. But remember that you're not alone. You have a partner, a spouse that you just married that is not your enemy. The problem is the enemy. My partner is part of the solution to the problem. Sometimes partners forget that. Sometimes in the heat of battle, the arguments turn to one another versus the actual problem at hand and coming up with a solution. It turns into a he said, she said, or a you do this or you do that, and then it's a comparison, and comparison is the thief of joy. Don't let it steal yours. It took enough from me and my wife this morning. I love my wife more than anything, more than any argument, more than any disagreement. She is not my enemy. She's not your enemy. The problem that you're facing right now is more than likely the fact that you're not going to God about it together. That's what I had to come to terms with this morning, is we're not on the same page with God. Not together, at least. But the cool thing about coming to terms with that is knowing that I've also found the solution to my problem. That's what we'll be doing. We'll be taking ours to God. We're going to talk to some folks who have been where we're at right now. Get some advice and some feedback from people who have successfully conquered this battle, who are still together today, whose children still love them today. If you're in a situation like I'm in right now, if you find yourself in the mind frame that I'm in right now, I really do pray and hope that you do the same thing. That you turn to God for all of it. That you count all of it as joy, knowing that whenever y'all make it through this, you're only going to be that much stronger. That's 100% how I feel right now. I love my wife, and I hope and pray that she knows that too. Although I'm sure she does. I love you guys, man. Y'all be safe out there, all right?
Something I used to always tell my exes, and now I'm like thinking, is this childhood trauma? We got married and we had a kid, and then we decided to get divorced. They could not have any other kids because I was so afraid of me having, like, my kids having stepkids. No shade, no tea to the stepkids. I come from a blended family, but that's also what gave me the trauma of growing up in such a blended household. I'd love to hear your guys' experiences, because mine has been always so dramatic, so messy. And that's why I love to see families like Alex Earls. They at least do the blended family thing so well. It is one of those things that I had not realized until recently in therapy, unlocking this, created such a deep set fear of creating a family in my own mind, because of how I grew up and seeing how when you do have children already and you bring them into a marriage or whatever, a partnership situation, etc., it is so difficult, much less if you both have kids and you're doing it. Like, my parents have both, obviously, my parents have been married since I was 2 years old. I'm 20, I'll be 29 this year. They've been married for 27 years, a long ass time. And they still have issues and things that they have to iron out with just exes, with like between the kids and just blending. It really instilled the fear of God into me. Like, there are a few things I'm fearful of. One of them is getting pregnant. I cannot wait to be a mom. I cannot wait to share those moments, experience that, like, to feel that amount of love. It will make me emotional to talk about. The therapist was like, when you talk about it, or I'll sometimes read my journal to her. I know it's very vulnerable. I trust my girl. And in your writing, you are so passionate about this. You can tell you want it so bad. And yet it seems like something that you fear so deeply because of that fact. And I don't know if it's just a blended family thing. I understand that you can be completely traumatized as a kid and your parents be like your parents that you both biologically had, and you're like an intact family. So I really don't want the message to be like blended families are bad. They're not. I love my family. I am grateful to have, my parents. I'm grateful that they're married, etc. It just makes me realize and reiterates to me, especially as I evolve and grow at 28 now, almost 29, that you really need to do a lot of emotional work and mental work before, one, you decide to get married, and two, before you decide to have children. And especially if you're going to end up blending like the two families that you do have, if you're somebody who's dating as like a single parent, etc. And it just, you know, I have a lot of trauma from coming from a blended family.
Most people never do the actual work in order to fully heal and to be emotionally ready for a relationship. You can be emotionally available for a relationship, but are you actually ready for it? Are you ready to put in the work? Are you healed, or are you carrying past traumas and past horrible experiences with other people into your new relationship? And a lot of people do not do the work that they need to do. And the next thing you know, they get into a relationship and there's chaos. There's always problems, always something wrong that they constantly have to fix. And a lot of times they never fix it and they never change for the better. And so before you even think about being in a new relationship or whatever, do the inner work. And if you are in a relationship right now, do the inner work. You should be better today than you were a year ago. But if you just go and you do not do the emotional work, you are going to seriously harm other people in that relationship or even harm yourself. And so the first step, really, I think at least, is to deal with all of those things from your childhood. So there's a good chance that it probably will not repeat when you are an adult and you're dating and perhaps even looking to marry.
Where are all my other step-parents at, or stepmamas? Because I think we need a support group ASAP. Like, I don't know about all you, but I was not aware of what being a step-parent actually entailed. Now, I wouldn't change it for anything, but holy shit. I thought it was going to be like sunshines and rainbows and blended happy families. It is so much harder than I ever expected. So we all need to join together and have a support group. I'm going to share like one of my recent stories. Maybe it'll make you feel better about your life, or you're going to be like, haha, bitch, I'm glad I don't have your life. So I have been a step parent for going on 7 years. I met the kids in 2nd and 4th grade, and they're now in middle school and high school. I love them. We have a great relationship. I really don't have problems there. I have the most problems with Biomom, who I continuously like want to be best friends and have this fantasy that we're all going to hang and we're going to co-parent effortlessly, and it's probably just never going to happen. She's bitter and she hates me. But I'm just going to tell like my recent example. Like, I'm 7 years down the road. Like, we are well into our comfort family phase. But it's little things like this that really hurt as a step parent. So the 7th grader had his assignment notebook out over the weekend, and he didn't really realize what he was showing me, but as a parent and an adult, you know, I'm scanning and looking at everything in the assignment notebook, and he flips to the calendars of each month, and I realize he has literally everyone in his lives' birthday written in there. Like uncles, grandparents, friends. He has literally everyone's birthday in there. And I scan to March, which is my birthday. My birthday doesn't make the cut. Then I scan to May, my son, so his stepbrother, doesn't make the cut. So we are literally the only people in this kid's lives that didn't make the cut for the assignment notebook. And he knows our birthdays. Like, that's a fact. And it's those things that I know it's so petty, but I just can't, like, it hurts my feelings. Everyone else is in there. I love this kid more than anything, and you can't put our birthdays in there. And I know it's because he doesn't want to make his mom mad, and I know there's more to it, but it's like those little things that they're hurtful as a step parent. So we need to band together, and we need to be able to discuss our situations in a step parent support group.
This might only make sense if you come from a blended family or have a blended family. It's wild. We have 2 kids and 2 kids. These 2 kids are leaving on Friday for an extended long visit with their bio parent in another state. And these 2 kids we have today and tomorrow, and then we don't get them back till Sunday. So today and tomorrow are our last 2 days with these 4 together, all of our whole family together for a while. And so, of course, what are we trying to do? We're trying to make it special. You guys, let's go do something together. Family or quality time. Like, we're going to have so much fun together. Like, we're going to hug each other and love each other. Except they are whining so much. And they're fighting and they're complaining. And they're just like, I wonder, like, do they know and sense, and they're like resisting the separation? Are they like, what's going on? Is this big feelings? Is this something underneath? Because we're trying so desperately to have our little family have a little fun. And they won't. They won't just have fun. Have fun. We're going to go have a special bowling party together as a family.
The thing about blended families that women don't realize is that y'all are not a blended family. You are a babysitter. Because I know plenty of women who think they have blended families, but when their new partner speaks about the kids that she's had with other people, it's your kids versus my kids. Please stop being delusional. 10 times out of 10, y'all are not a blended family. You are a mark. You are a low-cost /free discounted babysitter so that he does not have to be in the house with his kids that he created with other women. Y'all think you're a blended family, but just let something go wrong. Let something happen. He's going to remind you that those are your damn kids and his are right here. They even let their kids violate and disrespect you with no consequence. You want to know why? Because y'all are not family. You are a babysitter. You are labor.
What she just said was 100% facts. One thing that goes wrong, they will blame your kids. They will blame you for how your kids behave. And the next thing you know, you guys aren't blended anymore. There is no harmony anymore. Just because there's an argument, there's a fight, and they throw it in your face right away. Guys, those of you that are actually in a blended family, please let us know in a comment section down below. What has been your experience with blended families, and what advice can you give to other people who are in a blended family or who are in a relationship with a guy with kids or a lady with kids as well? So please let us know your thoughts down below.
Let me just explain how being a stepmom is a double-edged sword. And I don't feel too hot today, so please disregard my couch potato look. So on a lot of my stepmom videos, a lot of people keep commenting about why do I call my stepdaughter stepdaughter. I really only refer to her as stepdaughter for context, because the minute I say my daughter, somebody else is mad. My stepdaughter has a mom, she has a dad, she lives 50-50, we switch on Fridays, that's our schedule. If we're out and about and someone asks me how many kids I have, usually I will just say 4. I don't say, oh, 3, and then I have my stepdaughter. Sometimes I do clarify, because if my stepdaughter was actually my daughter, I would have been a teen mom, and people get confused because they don't remember me being a teen mom. I was never a teen mom. But it doesn't matter if I say stepdaughter, bonus daughter, my daughter, I offend someone. Sometimes here on TikTok, I will say stepdaughter because, again, she has her own mom. And I'm respectful of that, but also when I refer to my other daughter, sometimes I'll just bunch her as, you know, my daughters, because I don't want her to feel left out or not included, because I do love her just as much as I love my own kids. So if you're a stepmom like me, what do you call your stepchildren or non-biological children? And just to clarify, if I do refer to her as my daughter, I'm not saying I'm her mom. So don't get your panties in a wad. Also, this is like a weird thought in my head, but if I had stepchildren, I think it could be different, because those children wouldn't be isolated, as there could be like multiples.
The number one mistake in blended families is confusing roles and overstepping boundaries too soon. Things like rushing the bond with the children. New partners should build trust with the kids slowly. When you force that or you push it too hard, the kids may resist. Things like not letting the biological parent lead. The biological parent should be the primary decision maker and disciplinarian. Things like overstepping with the high conflict ex. A new partner that's engaging in a conflict with the ex is just going to cause unnecessary drama. Also, things like ignoring the kids' emotions, right? Like, kids need time to adjust. So forcing a relationship or disregarding their loyalty to their other parent really is just going to create tension, and it's not going to end well. But as I always say, these things need to be set in place with boundaries and expectations by the bio parent. If the bio parent isn't stepping up and setting these boundaries or these expectations, it's not going to work out regardless.
I appreciate you guys watching the video today. Please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe down below, and I'll see you guys in the next video.